Welcome to the At The Eyepiece Show. This is an astronomy-based podcast that is devoted to discussing astronomical equipment, stargazing tips, observing reports, and equipment reviews. We don't focus on the science of astronomy. There are plenty of shows that do that. The focus of At The Eyepiece is the visual observers, those backyard stargazers that enjoy taking their telescopes under the stars, and those individuals wishing to join our ranks. After all, what matters to stargazers is what's at the eyepiece.
Well, good evening out there, my fellow backyard stargazers, and I'm back. Yes, another episode of At The Eyepiece. This is episode number 76. I'm recording this on July 21st, 2013. We're going to be talking about SkyTools3, astronomical planning software review, as well as the Zhumell inch-and-a-quarter Zoom Eyepiece. But that's not all. We have plenty of other information, and let's go ahead and dive right in here. Yes, it's been a few months since I've been able to go ahead and get out and do a show here, and well, I've been very busy. You see, I've been trying to get going the Murfreesboro Astronomy Club, a local astronomy club right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where I am proudly call home here in Murfreesboro. And I've been pretty busy trying to get those together, communicating with the fine folks that are helping me to get more information out there, host the actual club meetings, which we just had our first meeting here just a couple of weeks now. So it's a lot of work. I put together this website here if you want to just check it out at your free time, murfreesboroastronomy.com. And there's a lot of work there to be done. I hope to throw up the meeting notes and newsletters. Got some good contact information here for folks that want to go ahead and join the club. We have our events page, which includes links and information here from a Google Calendar that we're going to go ahead and do, as plus as some video review, which ties actually into my personal YouTube channel, but that's where we're going to go ahead and put up some videos of events and such that we do for the club. And I hope to expand a little bit more on our member profile page. Right now just has myself, but we'll go ahead and get some core members in there too. So I've been trying to keep busy with doing that. Going ahead and officially applied for the Astronomical League membership, and that's all done. And we need to go ahead and move forward with getting ourselves recognized as an official nonprofit organization, go ahead and setting up our dues, etc. So, hey, I got a valid reason for getting out or skipping out rather for the last couple of months. Just been, I don't know where the time's flying. I can't believe it's almost August. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So that is what I've been up to. Plus, of course, doing a number of stargazing online, broadcasting those. Again, those are up on the YouTube channel, trying to do that. So lots of stuff here to get into episode number 76. Want to try to keep it within the time frame. We are on Google Plus right now, live Hangouts, recording this for future post up on our YouTube channel. That's going to be both on John Kramer as well as At The Eyepiece. I'd like for everybody to try to go ahead and subscribe to At The Eyepiece if they can. I wish there was a way that I could add both channels, but Google/YouTube doesn't permit that. So for right now, we'll go ahead and keep it as is. But those of you listening to our podcast and, of course, going ahead and subscribing there on iTunes, I'd like to say hello, and let's go ahead and get started with this. So let's go ahead and cover some astronomical news. Mostly equipment news. We've got a number of things to get caught up on. First and foremost, let's go ahead and get caught up on some new astronomical equipment. It is Celestrons that has teamed up with the imaging source to create some new cameras. that are built by Imaging Source and, of course, branded for Celestron. And those are called the SkyRisk cameras here. This was announced back on July 2nd of this month. Now, it looks like they have obviously a number of cameras, and we'll go ahead and cover up from the SkyRisk 618M, which is no doubt the monochrome camera based off of the new chip from the Imaging Source. Yours truly has the DMK21 that is based off of an earlier chip, the 618, which I want to say is a Sony chip. I don't want to go ahead and give misinformation there, but the 618 is the most popular chip. Definitely has a leg up on the sensitivity. Yes, it is a Sony XView had ICX618 monochrome camera. Now, they go ahead and they start out with these cameras from a price point of $499 for the standard 618 monochrome and color cameras. They go ahead up to $899 for the SkyRisk 274 color, and of course that's going to give you a much larger chip. By the way, these are all USB 3.0 cameras, and this the larger chip is going to give you some pretty big resolution, 1600 by 1200, whereas the previous 618 chip that I had mentioned is going to give you, which I believe pretty standard with those earlier models, but a higher frame rate. It's going to go ahead and give you, yes, 640 by 480. You know, I really like my Imaging Source camera. You know, I have had a blast using it, the monochrome camera. In fact, I've actually done some semi-live views using the DMK camera that have really surprised me with the quality of it, even with a minimum exposure of, say, 11 seconds, which is pretty short. I've been very satisfied with the views of globulars and such, and I'm actually expanding on going ahead and trying to do some more, we're trying to get into more live views, snapshots of double stars. So I'm interested to find out how folks feel on the SkyRisk cameras here, released by Celestron and made for them by the Imaging Source. Now we get on to some big news here, and we have some catching up to do. Meade Instruments, certainly a company that I have mentioned many a times here before on the show. They were, well, this is going to be catching up here. Back on May 17th, it was announced that Meade Instrument Corporation announces a merger with Zhumell Optics and Electronics. Now, this is a Chinese company. They also, however, they are in charge, or I should say parent company, of Explore Scientific, as well as Meade Instruments Europe, the Germany division. So this merger, which was announced on the 17th, not really a merger, I should say, it was to be acquired by them, originally rang very good with the amateur astronomy community there. Myself, I was actually very happy to hear this. Explore Scientific, folks, is a brand that has an excellent reputation. They make excellent refractors and a number of mount options, plus a broad lineup of quality eyepieces. All of this equipment has always had very favorable reviews. In addition to that, the customer service from Explore Scientific has also had rave reviews. And part of that is because the gentleman that runs Explore Scientific, his name is Scott Roberts. He really, I think, does an excellent job. And the great thing here, when this merger, or when this acquisition, rather, I keep saying merger, when this acquisition was announced, having the fact that Scott Roberts, he used to work for Meade Instruments. So this was a win-win, in my opinion, all the way around, and I was very excited to hear that from Meade. I thought that was a very, very smart decision on their part, and I was really looking forward to it. Now we fast through a little bit of time up to June, and Meade went ahead and was approached by a USA company called MIT Capital. Now, I didn't really do a whole lot of research in MIT Capital, but I would tell you that they don't have um, a lot of optics experience. I think this was mostly a capital company that was looking to go ahead and acquire Meade and try to break into that market. Now, that was originally talked about in June, but on July 5th, 2013, Meade and the board of directors, after consideration, had rejected the MIT Capital um, acquisition movement there for that company. So uh, I thought that that was a good move myself, and I think that also was the consensus out there in the world of amateurs that keeping with the JOC offer was going to be better all the way around. Now, the JOC offer stood at about $3.45 a share, and it was also commonly talked about on the forums, Cloudy Nights in particular. You know, I love that place. You want to head over there to cloudynights.com. That's a company, or that's a website that is pretty much run by Astronomics, a great astronomical equipment vendor, by the way. Pretty much everyone on there, which was talking to that, yeah, it's a fairly lowball price, and was getting Meade for a steal. But look, we're all aware of some of the financial problems that Meade is having. You could certainly go on. It's not any secret. You could certainly go on to a number of sites to go ahead and inquire on that yourself. And we were all pretty uh, excited still to see JOC acquiring it. Because look, everybody wants Meade to succeed and to revitalize itself, reinvent itself, and get back into the lead, or frankly, at least the competitiveness with some other vendors out there. However, uh, even fast forward now till very, very recent, you know, it was big news out there. Even the LA Times picked up an article. LA Times, you go to their business section, you do a search for Meade, and you'll find an article that they posted up there back on July 5th, just at the beginning of the month, talking about the financial problems of Meade, and quote, the telescope maker Meade Instruments at a turning point. So even it got some exposure out there from the newspapers there, and of course it talked about the acquisition offer, the rejection of MIT, and moving forward, and possibly even going into bankruptcy. Now we go ahead to a very, very recent um, announcement, which kind of floored me, frankly, and it was on July 16th. Meade Instruments Corporation terminates the JOC merger agreement, announces merger agreement with affiliates of Ningbo Sunny Electronic Company Limited for $4.21 per share. Now that actually, well, that shocked me. I know it was a bit of a shock, I think, to amateurs out there. First of all, Ningbo Sunny Electronic, or Sunny Optics out there, nobody really knew, although some discussion on Cloudy Nights again pointed that Sunny Optics makes a lot of department store optics, binoculars, small refractor telescopes, which, in my opinion, does not work in Meade's favor. But obviously, the reason that they went with this offer is the very short-sightedness of $4.21 per share. So a pretty good amount over the $3.45 that JOC was going to offer. Now, this merger termination with JOC also cost me $250,000 in termination fees. But from what it says here, Sunny Electronics, and by the way, this is from Yahoo Finance. If you go to yahoofinance.com and you look up some of the articles, or just do a search for Meade, you'll go ahead and find a link to this. And yes, I'll go ahead and ensure that I share out my Evernote feeds for this page on the show notes for you to go ahead and be able to find these links, okay? So don't worry about that. So I say a bit short-sightedness here with the termination fee. By the way, Sunny Electronics had paid that termination fee for them as part of the acquisition. I don't want to be a naysayer. I don't want to be negative. I think the JOC offer, which was less money for Meade, was going to be better for the company in the long run. But hey, it's all about the dollars and cents in this world, folks. So hopefully, this acquisition from Ningbo Sunny Electronics means a rebirth for Meade on a positive side. I hope that. However, I am extremely disappointed that they were not acquired by JOC. I think that was a better offer in the long run. Yeah, less money up front, but I think the company had a much better chance of surviving with that acquisition than with this. But hey, only time will tell. Only time will tell, and maybe it'll work out for them. Who knows? I'm certainly hoping that it would be on the positive side. All right, so let's go ahead. That is pretty much our industry news topics for this episode number 76. Let's go in to talking about our reviews here that we're going to do. And let's go ahead and start right off the bat covering our Skyhound review. Now we're going to do this format a little bit differently. We are going to go ahead and share a pre-recorded video review that I did, which will be separate off this episode number 76 on my YouTube channel. I think actually it is, but this is obviously for those that are listening to the podcast as well as perhaps might be chiming in on the live show now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our Skyhound 3 observing program review. We don't plan. There we go. All right, hi everyone. This is John Kramer, host of the At The Eyepiece Show, and we are going to be talking about today SkyTools 3. SkyTools 3 observing program. Well, observing planning program in particular. You know, one of the most overlooked things that I think amateurs do is they don't plan, or we don't plan our observing sessions. And I have to admit, I have been lax at doing that on many occasions as well. And what it can do is it can lead you to be out in a beautiful dark sky site. You know, you go through your list of quick objects that you know of from memory, but then you're kind of lost. What other objects can I see now? What other objects are up right now? What can I go ahead and see in my 6 or my 8-inch scope versus, say, my 12? That's where observing planning software comes in. And one of the most powerful available to amateur stargazers is SkyTools 3. You can find out more information on SkyTools 3 by going to skyhound.com. In fact, I am at the Skyhound's additions comparison page right here, and we're going to be talking about the different flavors of SkyTools 3. They offer a starter, a standard, and a pro. And let me go ahead and briefly cover a little bit of this. And I like the way they do this, by the way, too. Their starter edition is really for the novice observer with binoculars or a telescope up to 4.5 inches in diameter. And you're basically able to see stars and plan for objects that are down to about magnitude 12.5. That's about 4 million stars in its database. Now you have your standard edition, which I think is probably the most popular version out there. This is for observers with instruments larger than, say, 4.5 inches. It goes to 16 million stars, down to 15th magnitude. It also has a number of features, obviously, that the Star Edition doesn't, or the Starter Edition does not. It has an interactive atlas, visual context viewer, which is movable eyepiece simulation attached to the Sky Atlas. You can keep track of your observing by using the logbook, as well as the sky events planners, eclipses, satellite events, meteor showers, etc. Plus, you have star split or double star splitability ratings, a thumbnail viewer, which I will get to here shortly, one of the best parts, I think, of SkyTools. And it also has a computer control add-on for those of you that have computer control. You can go ahead and connect it up to the telescope and direct your objects slewing from SkyTools3. Now, you also have your Pro version. The Pro version is said to be a level for experienced visual observers that also do astrophotography and perhaps observe from a dark sky site, because it has 522 million stars, down to the magnitude 20th. Real time, by the way, telescope control is included in the Pro. It's an available add-on with your standard. And one of the things, it has everything that your standard has, plus an imaging. Oh, what do we got here, folks? A little bit of technical difficulty, perhaps. Let's just go ahead and see what we got going on here. That kind of just stopped its audio right in its tracks. That's pretty weird. Seems like the video is still playing, but for some reason our audio is all out of whack. All right, so let's go ahead and here to a plan B real quick. Gotta love the technical difficulties there right off of the bat. Certainly don't enjoy that. We're going to head on over to our YouTube channel, and we are going to go ahead and find this video feed right from our YouTube channel. See if we can go ahead and pick that up right now. Oh, that is our episode 76. We don't want to do that. Crossing the streams there. Again, sorry about this technical issue here. Let's go ahead and get this, see if we can pick this up here anywhere fast. We'll try to jump ahead here, folks, etc. Plus, you have star split or double star splitability ratings, a thumbnail viewer, which I will get to here shortly, one of the best parts, I think, of SkyTools. And it also has a computer control add-on for those of you that have computer control. You can go ahead and connect it up to the telescope and direct your object imaging session planner, an exposure calculator, images, context viewer, GPS location tool, and monitor planet and comet search. So I really like the fact that they offer 3 versions, because, what good is having... Okay, so it seems like this is feeding fine here, folks. Sorry for the interruption. I'll try to clean this up when we finally post this up onto the podcast. Those of you that are watching live, obviously you have all of these gotchas in the live format. So we'll go ahead and pick it up right here from 3 minutes and 51 seconds of the 25-minute video. 16 million stars if you only have, say, a 3. I do like the way it organizes. So let's go ahead and jump right on into SkyTools3. You notice right up at the top here of our application, you start off with 5 tabs across this page. Nightly Planner is generally where you start out with your current events, your special events. Let me click these as I go through. Current events such as occultations, Jupiter satellite events. I've used this before for. Special events, again, oppositions, elongations, conjunctions, things along those lines. Lunar phases, Jupiter Great Red Spot transits as well could be located on these special events. Ephemerids, I probably mispronounced that, but of course that is essentially object viewing times, and of course your real-time telescope control tab, which is used to integrate with your scope. So let's go back. Right below the nightly planner on this initial page, you have your star chart atlas icon, your log option there. You have telescope add and modify option. You can add a number of telescopes to this. And this is important to do because this has the ability to render, and I'll show you here shortly, render the eyepiece view fairly accurately to the particular telescope that you're using. When you have add a number of eyepieces to, pretty good database, by the way, of included eyepiece, and of course you can go ahead and add your own that may not be on there. One thing I will say that I wish that they had the capability to do is I find that I needed to assign the eyepieces to each and every telescope. I wish they had an option, maybe in a future release, to assign each or assign a group of eyepieces. Or all the eyepieces that you put in, assign them all to the same telescope. I mean, I use the same eyepieces for all the telescopes. This includes the scopes, by the way, type, aperture, focal length, etc. So you can add a number of scopes there for you. Add and modify binoculars. You can go ahead and add different binoculars to there for you. Now, of course, it has a search function. You can add a quick search, and I'll elaborate here on that, but it works pretty simple. For instance, if I wanted to add M27 to this observing list that I'm working on, I can go ahead and just type in M27 here, find it, add it to the list in no time, and I'm done with that. You also have the option to do an advanced power search, they call it. This is very powerful. You can find objects based on their catalog, whether or not they're multiple stars, their color, their distance, period for multiple stars, their splittability for double stars, variable star classification too. So very powerful stuff there within your star catalog. Your galactic deep sky, same thing. You can go ahead and add planetary nebula that is based on a certain size, distance, magnitude. Same thing with open clusters, globular, etc. And of course, extragalactic, while you're talking galaxies, galaxy groups, and quasars. And all of this can be added to your particular observing list. Now, speaking of observing list here, I'm going to bounce down here to about, well, we're still on the nightly planner page. And of course, it gives you a graphical representation of the sun, moon, rise, and set times. And also, when the moon is projected to be at its highest point, set. And then, of course, if you select an object, when that object is going to be at its best observing time with a red dash. So that's very, very helpful, as well as giving you indicators of, when it's going to be pretty dark or just, reaching past sunset, twilight, etc. Now, I do like that the fact that you can have different observing lists also grouped into logical groups. This is one nice feature I do like about SkyTools3. For instance, I've created AL observing lists, and within that AL observing lists group, I add, well, astronomical league lists that I was able to download from SkyTools3 webpage right here into that group. I do like that feature a lot. It's just kind of logically laid out. I can also create one for urban targets, where I use mostly for any type of star parties that I do. I also created one carbon stars, and of course there's a number of lists in there. But let's go back to AL observing list open clusters. Those are the group and the lists, and of course within this list you have a number of columns for these particular objects. They're rather typical. You have your star rating, what rating you give them. They have their primary ID, such as M26, their secondary ID, such as an NGC 6694, constellation, right ascension, declination, magnitude, size, distance, a rise time, a set time, a transit time, etc. You can modify these columns, by the way, which is another nice feature. On the far right of your window, you'll see a blue icon. I wish they gave a little bit more description of these features, by the way, but if you mouse over it, it should pop up. This is your schema. This is your column schema. Right now, you have the default, and you can select whatever columns that you want to have on there. simply by checking them off for your default, or you can actually make your own column schema list, and I like that. For instance, I have one here, double stars, which would give me, a column for separation, position, angle, etc. I might not be interested if I'm observing double stars with their size or their distance, but certainly with their separation, etc. You have an option to go ahead and create note and groups rating there. I haven't used that feature much. Honestly, I really don't know much about that here. But your list filters are something else here on this initial nightly planner tab that you might find handy. You can go ahead and list it based on, well, I just want to see galaxies, or I just want to see variable stars, or just globular clusters. And this would filter it further based on the observing list that you're using. Also, you can sort it by constellation too. Let's say I just want to see too what objects are near maximum altitude for best observing. You can choose that option as well. All right, and then let's say we wanted to go ahead and see what objects are visible, maybe day or night, twilight, moon, or complete darkness only. We have those options here. So as you can see, the user interface is pretty clean. Now, I would actually prefer to have some more real estate on the user interface dedicated to buttons and options, etc. myself, but I guess they go towards Skyhound likes a clean user interface with a lot of other options brought up from secondary menu options. So let's look up some of these. Now I'm on M26. I just highlighted it here with my mouse. Now if I right-click on that, or rather if I, there we go. If I right-click on it other than within the star region here, I can go ahead to Object Info, View Interactive Atlas, View Overhead Sky, View Naked Eye, and you see these are all options with also shortcut keys. That's just something you got to get used to while you're using the product. So in a way, maybe they wanted to go for a clean user interface with a lot of shortcuts that you can get to certain features. And of course, View Scope and Binoculars will bring up your particular object you have highlighted with any particular telescope that you want to go ahead and see. You can also print your chart and quick log entry, create log entries, and get deep sky image. So a lot of functions that you have if you right click, and of course all of these have the quick key shortcut. Now let me bring up some features here that are I think kind of unique to well, no, certainly within SkyTools3 it's a strong point, and that is the interactive atlas. Let me shrink this window down here and fit more into the window that I'm broadcasting from. Let's see if we can do that here. There we go. That's giving you an idea now of kind of what we're doing. And as you can see, this is actually a kind of a nice, capable sky atlas in and of itself. I was actually pretty impressed with that. Look at the richness of the star fields here in Scudam near M26. Now, this is simply the interactive atlas. We can close that. Now, let's say we want to see M26 through, let's say, what is it going to look like through the LS8 ACF? And of course, we have this view here. And unfortunately, I gotta shrink this up again here. I wish it would save these types of different views, but you'll get the picture here in a moment, the whole picture. Shrink that up here. And this is, again, this is a really nice feature of SkyTools3. You have 3 different viewing options here. Currently, I have selected my Finder view, which is a 6x30 Finder view, and the eyepiece view of the Meade LS8 ACF with Series 4000 eyepiece. So let's go ahead and drop that down. Let's say that we're going to go ahead and use a mirror diagonal, which is pretty standard with that. And let's say I'm going to use the 2x Barlow with it. That gives us the viewing options with M26. And this should be rendered fairly accurately with the telescope. Now, of course, we can also go to our naked eye view.
So let's just say we want to know a general view of where that is in our night sky. We have our naked eye view facing the south. We have our finder view, and then of course we have our eyepiece view. So these are all very, very helpful and powerful features, I think, within SkyTools 3. I really like these features. I don't use the naked eye that much. I mean, I'm going to get an idea of where they are, the naked eye from the finder, and of course in the direction from the telescope. So I really enjoyed this feature of SkyTools 3, and one of its main selling points, I think, is that its ability to do so. Let's go ahead and say, I think I showed you the interactive atlas, the overhead sky. Pretty much, as the name implies, overhead sky is going to give you the whole, the whole view of what time it is that you have the object. It's not really going to go ahead and give you any type of specific view of the object, just the overhead sky at the time of observation that you have set here. And of course, the telescope, you can go ahead and choose that. This will give you pretty much the same features as the other view did, just particularly with your scope of choice. I really like, again, the view here. Let me drop that down. I'm certainly not going to use a Barlow with that. I get some more eyepiece selections. It's kind of one of those points that I wish I could have the eyepieces all kind of set for all of my telescopes, but that's minor. I just have to go through and add them up here. So this is basically what the view through my eyepiece should be of M26 with 78 times magnification. And this should be a general location where I'm hunting it down with my finder scope. So I really enjoyed that feature. Now another thing is nice here is let's go to object info. One of the strong points, I think, of the product is the synopsis. On this night, M26 is best visible between 21:17 and 02:42. That's 2 a.m. With the optimum view at about 12:03. Look for it in Scutum, high in the sky, complete darkness. It is very challenging visually in the Celestron Series 8. Next Star 40 will give you an optimum visual detection. So I like that. I do like the way it just kind of flows there. It gives you a good overview of what you're going to be checking out. Chart numbers, in case you bring your normal printed charts out. Pocket Sky Atlas is included there. Visual difficulty with different telescopes and what they're part of with the observing lists. Year bar 2 as to what the best date was, and then of course apparent data really kind of gives you the specifics of the object. So I did like that too. You can have a little menu or an action menu here down at the bottom. Again, I don't know. The layout, I wish there was some improvements with the user interface here rather than having to go all the way down here to the bottom. I just kind of find that kind of odd. But you can create a quick log entry based on the time of day that you're observing. You're seeing presets you can configure, transparency presets you configure. You can basically go ahead and just put in your notes on this particular object and create the log entry, and you're done. And you have now logged. You're observing for M26. You can also create a quick log entry. That is, as the name implies, should be a little bit quicker. Insert eyepiece, 18 millimeter, like those. I actually kind of like the quick log entry versus anything else, but that's just my personal preference. So that's your standard version. Your layout here. I think I talked about the columns. I think might not have talked about one of the nice features that I really enjoy here. About SkyTools 3, and that is right here in the upper right-hand corner, I believe. View list as thumbnails. This is really neat. I know my screen resolution here is a little bit smaller, but this, as the name implies, gives you all of these objects in a graphical thumbnail view. And I love this because now I can go through and say,
I want to see objects that really, really are going to be standout in my Meade LS8 ACF and a 14mm eyepiece. NGC 6604, that looks like it might be good. So is 6716. Certainly the wild duck clusters looks like it's going to be good. M26, Calander 372, not so much. And then you can cycle through these pages and find interesting objects that you want to go ahead and check out. Trumpler 35, that doesn't look very exciting. Berkeley 47, that might be worthwhile. Same thing with 82. Core 6709. So this is a really great way I like this feature a lot. 6793 looks like it would be very good. So will Calander 408. So you kind of get the point here. This is one of the really nice features that I like about SkyTools3. So I hope that goes through most of the important information here. Of course, it does have a red light version here for SkyTools3, so you don't have to worry about that. But this is basically just a quick overview, user interface review of the product. And I think for folks that are interested in double stars, in fact, let's take a moment here for that. In particular, they should get a lot from this product because of the rendering the product does with your double stars. It is supposed to be one of the best products out there as far as double star rendering. They really hype that up on their webpage. Here's an eyepiece view with the Meade 26mm. Let's bump that up even to a little bit higher. Let's go with the 8.8. So you see here with this is, what object is this? Gamma Hercules? Marfic in Hercules. This should give you a rather accurate description of what the object should look like with the 231 times magnification with your 8-inch scope on an 8.8mm eyepiece. So for double star observers, I think you'll get a lot from this product. For observers that enjoy maybe seeing the objects visually, I think you're before doing your observing planning, maybe you're a bit, you really want to observe items that you know are going to be impressive. I think the visual thumbnail view is very, very important for you and really help you out with that. And, I can't say enough about how the product seems to render the night sky accurately. I have used a couple of other products, a couple of other competitors' products, and I will tell you that they leave a little bit desired to be as far as within the application and how it renders the night sky. I know one product in particular, you can go ahead and use an external program, which works very, very well. By the way, Cartes du Ciel, probably mispronouncing that too, but that's okay. Astroplaner in particular, I really love the user interface of Astroplaner. I think it's a little bit easier to navigate, frankly, than SkyTools3. And I think it's a little bit easier to use in those regards. But one of the weaknesses of the program is its lack of any type of integrated star chart or sky chart program. It's very rudimentary. And as far as the way it views or renders the objects in the eyepiece, I think is rather weak. This is where SkyTools actually really shines very, very well. So I hope that you enjoyed this brief review of SkyTools3. I do say that it comes as a recommended product for you. If cost is a concern, maybe there's some other products out there. Astroplaner certainly rates extremely high up there as far as I'm concerned as well. But again, I think if you're a double star observer or you like to see what the objects are going to appear visually before even really adding them completely to an observing list, well, I got to give both of those strengths to SkyTools3. Well, this is John Kramer. This is going to wrap up our review or first impressions of SkyTools3 for episode number 76 of the At The Eyepiece Show. Coming up next is going to be our impressions of the Zhumell 1.25" Zoom Eyepiece.
All right, folks. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that review / first impression of that product, SkyTools3. I've enjoyed using it. One of the things I've also enjoyed is going ahead and using that product not only to log my observations, but also to go ahead and log the saving of those as well to my desktop, or not to my desktop, but to the product, SkyTools3, saving that up there and letting you save each one of those objects that you are observing and taking a quick little image of. It worked out very well. So I really enjoyed that too. So next up is, as the name implies, let's see if we can get a good run here through the Zhumell 1.25" Zoom Eyepiece.
This is the with one of the
Having a great time with these technical difficulties. Let's see what
This
we
is
got
an
here.
At The Eyepiece mini review.
Hi everyone, it's John Kramer here with the At The Eyepiece Show. This is episode number 76, and we are covering the Zhumell 1.25" 8 to 24 millimeter zoom eyepiece that I have in my hand right here. Really good case, by the way, that this thing comes with. I haven't seen one like this, but I really like it. It's very protective. You're going to certainly protect the optics and the eyepiece with that case. Let's talk about some of the physical characteristics of this eyepiece. Let's take the caps off here. You got front and bottom cap here. You have a nice rubber eye guard here. You can fold down if you're comfortable with that, but it's very soft, very comfortable. Nice textured barrel, rather typical, but I do like that a lot. I prefer this over, say, a smooth barrel. Very smooth, speaking of smooth, very smooth movement here as you go through the magnification levels of this zoom eyepiece. 1.25" barrel recessed here so that there's no slippage in the diagonal or eyepiece holder. It is threaded for filters, 1.25". One note about that, however, I had found in use, particularly if you're down to, say, the 8 millimeter range, you can see how far the lens elements actually move down there. They're going to interfere with your barrel for your filter. Keep that in mind. But even more so, there's a little recessed, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's a little recessed lip there inside. You cannot get your filters to screw on all the way onto this eyepiece. So just keep that in mind. I had a little bit of difficulty starting also to get the filters screwed on, but you know, they were able to get on there and held on there just fine. So optical performance of this eyepiece. I did not have the opportunity to do a side-by-side with this eyepiece against, say, the premium Olivon eyepieces that I had, the Zooms, if you recall. Excuse me, if you recall that. But I will tell you, after using this a number of times, its optical performance is very good. I would say that this loses to the premium zoom eyepieces as it pertains to field of view, brightness that I recall, and yes, a little bit of sharpness. No, I'd say contrast. Sharpness was decent. Its contrast that I recall was a little bit less from this compared to memory and notes from the Olivon. However, doesn't mean that this is a bad eyepiece. On the contrary, this is a fantastic performing eyepiece. I've used it a number of times. Outreach in particular. It's great to take one scope and one eyepiece. You got all your ranges that you need. 24 for open clusters, 18 to 12 for globs. and of course some planetary, and 8mm if you want to get some high-powered stuff on the moon. I also use this exclusively when I'm using my grab-and-go scope, which is the 6-inch f8 Dobsonian. So I've used this eyepiece a lot, and I tell you, I don't miss really any of the other premium eyepieces that I have. When I'm doing a quick view, and when I am maybe checking out a few things during the daytime, solar observing, hydrogen alpha, or white light, this eyepiece does fine. Yes, it does get a little bit of reflections on bright objects that I've seen, but that's minimum. Surprisingly nice. One thing in particular visually that might bother you, I noticed this too, is that the field stop is quite visible in this at 24. I mean, it really does look like you're looking through a long tube. Doesn't give you the spacewalk feeling at all, folks. So just keep that in mind. You might be bothered by it, you might not. I think the value that this eyepiece presents certainly overcomes anything remotely close to any shortcomings that I could say here. It is an excellent eyepiece for the value. By the way, this eyepiece is $59.98 right now, folks. So you can't help but go out there and pick up this eyepiece. It's a great value. Optically, it's an excellent value. It does just fine. And I'll tell you, you might be using this eyepiece almost exclusively there. I don't know. It could get pretty addictive using a zoom. You know, you're going to lose out obviously on the field of view. 40mm or 40 degrees rather to 60 degrees. Not a great deal of field of view. Other premium zoom eyepieces might do better for that. Obviously the field stop, but gosh, great value. The Zhumell 1.25" zoom eyepiece. Definitely need to pick one up if you haven't done so already. $59.98 at the time of this impression and review.
All right, folks, so that is my impression there of the Zhumell 1.25" zoom eyepiece. For more information on that particular zoom eyepiece, you can head on over to Zhumell.com. That's ZHUMELL.com. And of course, if you are interested in checking out that application, observing planning software, simply head on over to SkyHound.com for more information on SkyTools3. So that'll be a wrap for this episode number 76 for the At The Eyepiece Show. Don't forget, I sure hope to go ahead and be putting out another episode very, very shortly. And we are going to go ahead and actually be doing a brief episode here, more as it pertains to observing. Not really in episode 77, but more so of our, maybe a constellation of the month, as we talk about some of our objects in a very, very short episode coming up right between this episode 76 and episode number 77. So thanks for listening, and I sure hope you see you next time here at The Eyepiece.